Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and joining me for our Super Bowl action spectacular today, none other than Jim Sanis from numberFire and FanDuel, and of course, your friend and mine, the Welsh from In This League. And today, the boys and I are going to break down the game. We're going to talk a little DFS. We're going to talk a little FanDuel, a little DK. We're also going to talk a bit about your questions. And I know you got some general football things, a couple prop questions out there. We'll hit the mailbag and we'll hit it hard. Then we'll talk about the boys' favorite props of the day, too, the ones you really got to pay attention to. So a whole lot going on. And Jim, you and I were talking before the show even began about it feels kind of like we're winding down, or at least kind of for you. For me, I've still got baseball going, and I know Welsh does too. So what is this time of year kind of like for you? Do you know what to do with yourself? Are you looking for shows to binge? Like, what's happening for you now?
Yeah, I got bored on Monday for the first time in a very, very long time. And it was kind of cool. Like, I know boredom is not like a positive emotion, but like, I was into it, man. Like, right? It's been a while. Like, I do baseball too, but it's only DFS and betting. So like, I get kind of like a summer during the winter, which is I'm in Syracuse, so it's winter, but like, you know, it's kind of my summer. But then we go this year straight from Super Bowl to Daytona 500, which means that like I'm gonna be on a high for like a full week. So I get to like have more free time, and I get to watch like two of the best events the entire year. So I am in like the best mood you could possibly concoct right now, I think.
Well, Welsh and I both have two kids. Not together. We just have two kids, each of us. And although we'd be wonderful parents together.
Sure, I mean,
of course. Yeah. But we don't know what free time is. Free time doesn't really exist. But Welsh, I'm excited to have you on because I know how much you have really taken to prop betting these last few years, how this is kind of a passion of yours now. So I can't think of two better guys to have on this show. And I know for you in the Super Bowl, like this is like prop bet central, right? Everything you could possibly imagine, it's there for the taking.
It is. I mean, I don't know if you know, I'm banning the Super Bowl this year. I will not be partaking in any festivities of it after the NFC West championship game. I've decided that I cannot partake. Now, I will tell you that here's what I'm doing this week, because you're right. I love prop bets, and I've really gotten into gambling inside because of my anger. I have maybe taken out my NFC Championship game anger on my sports book, and I've decided my sports book will decide my partaking in the Super Bowl. As in, here's what I'm getting at: if I have money by the end of the week, I'll play. If I don't, I won't partake. I've gotten to betting Russian Olympic men's hockey and women's hockey as of recent, because I need to take out all of this frustration. So if I have money, I'm going to partake. And I got to admit, going through all the props, it's juicy. It's kind of fun. It's kind of the funnest time of the year. But I'm protesting the Super Bowl. Don't forget that.
Well, as a 49er fan, I understand but at least you have a quarterback to turn to. A lot of other organizations just, I think you do. I think Trey Lance is going to be that dude, but we shall see. We shall see, that's for sure. But before we kick things off, I want to remind everybody we got a couple cool things going on. First of all, the Super Bowl squares. Everybody loves the squares. You go to bettingpros.com/squares, and basically what you have there is you can create your free board, and you can send the link to all your friends, your frenemies, your colleagues, your family, whoever you want to be involved, and they can go ahead and participate. And it's a great fun way. You can set up as many as you want. The board updates automatically, and you don't have to worry about like, oh, I got to take this person's information or create a document or this. No. We've taken all the hard work out. We've made it simple at bettingpros.com/squares. So go ahead and create as many contest squares as you want and go send it out there to everybody and have some fun. And again, everything updates automatically, so everybody can be watching and looking along every single quarter. So that's super fun. Also, what's super fun is we've compiled all the amazing offers that Welsh is going to overload himself with over at bettingpros.com/offers. Everything from $5 to $20. You can win some serious money with some of these amazing offers from all these different betting houses we have on the Super Bowl. So go check them out, see which ones are for you, what states they're available in. And again, that's over at bettingpros.com/offers. We've done all the hard work for you, and we've trimmed it all down and said, here you go play outside, have fun with the Super Bowl. So that being said, let's take a hard look here at the DFS. And let's start here on the FanDuel side. So, Jim, I know a lot of people who love fantasy football don't always play DFS, but even the people who love DFS like me typically don't go in for these one-game slates. So Explain your approach, because I think that's very important to kind of get a feel for what it's like and how you approach this. How many lineups do you make? What sort of angles do you take? Basically, what's the best advice you can give for everyone?
Yeah, so it's kind of depending on what your strength is. Like for me, I prefer single entry slates because I don't like competing with as many, you can do as many combinations as you want. I want to try to decide, okay, I think I have an edge on this one lineup. I'm going to toss that one lineup in there. And obviously, you can do multiple single entry contests and use different lineups within those single entry contests. So if you want to have multiple swipes, you can do so, but just by putting in multiple different single entry contests. So for me, that's the way I want to live. That's where my primary focus is, on single entry contests for these single game slates. And I just feel like it's because that's where my strong suit is. But if your strong suit is multi-entering and mapping out all the different ways the games could play out, then do that. I think that just kind of knowing your strength as a player is the key there. For me, it's single entry, but for you, it can be very different. So kind of just thinking to yourself, okay, where am I strongest? And then letting that dictate the way you want to play things.
All right, well, let's say you have no strength. Let's say you just want to have some fun.
Let's say your name's the Welsh. Let's say your name's Welsh.
I didn't want to name names, but okay, let's say your name's the Welsh. But would you go, let's say, with, okay, here are the Rams are the favorite. Let's go with the chalky Rams win. We'll go with Stafford, Kupp, kind of load up on the Rams and then maybe run it back a little bit with the other guys. Do your alternate lineup there with the Bengals winning, and then do some of those, well, instead of Cooper Kupp, give me the big OBJ game or big, some other player like Jamar Chase. Is that the way, if let's say you're going to do 4 lineups, is that the approach of give me the chalk, give me the oppo, and then give me the weird differential in between, and that's your 4?
Yeah, I think that definitely works. I think that kind of the way you said it, though, is correct, where you want to make sure the players interact well. And I don't mean play well. I want it to be like, okay,
we interact very well, the three of us.
Yeah. I want to make sure that they play well together. So if you're using player Y and the odds that player Y does well decreases the odds that player B does, or at player X does well, make sure you're not including them as often in the same lineup. So if you are wary of Sony Michel or of Cam Akers' role, you're probably not going to want to pair him with Sony Michel because they're going to cannibalize each other quite a bit. Stuff like that. Or if you're thinking that Tyler Boyd has a big game here for the Bengals, you might not want to have both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in there. Or think about it this way, Joe Mixon loses work when the Bengals are trailing. So if you have a lineup where you're heavy on the Rams, you've got Cooper Kupp in there, you've got Matthew Stafford, you've got Matt Gay in there, you've got like a heavy Rams lineup, Joe Mixon will not be the optimal bring back on the Bengals side because he does lose some work to Samaje Perine when they fall behind. So think through the way the players interact, because basically what you're doing is you're making a 5-player parlay and assuming that all those guys do well. Can that happen? And if the answer is no, where not all 5 guys can do well at the same time, you're going to want to change things up. So just think about the way things interact, have a final score in mind and ask yourself, if this final score plays out the way I think it will, who would benefit? And let that kind of be the deciding factor in the way you want to play things.
Yeah, I'm going to throw in real quick, Joe. I saw a really great video Jim did. I just happened upon it, by the way, right before.
Yeah, you weren't stalking him at all.
No, I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to be on with Jim." I happened to see the video posted on FanDuel, and you said something along these lines, but you kind of your first piece of advice was like, "Hey, listen, find your side of the game." That might be the best way to approach roster construction. Is I really like how you said that because it's completely true, and it's actually how I approach in DK, and I would approach these kind of smaller things. And that's what you said. You're like, hey, find your side, what side you like. If I think your exact words are like, if you like the Bengals plus, minus 10, or, they're going to win by 10, that roster is going to look different than what you might want to construct if the Rams are going to win by 3. And another thing you said, I think is really, really smart from a mental aspect of this, because I don't go crazy with DFS, specifically these type of lineups, but what else do we have? Is I love that you just said think of it as a parlay, because I do like to play same game parlays, and I have done 5 player same game parlays, and you looking at it like that actually might take out some of that mental block that not only DFS has for people, and people are like, oh, I'm dealing with whales, but also that mental block of like, this is a different game than I've been probably playing the entire year. Thinking of it in a parlay perspective is actually really, really slick, Jim. So good on you.
Yeah,
that's why you're a pro. That's why you're
and that it translates to everything too. So like the way you think the game plays out should dictate what you do at MVP, because like, let's use the Bengals by 10 instance. Like, if the Bengals win by 10, the odds that Joe Mixon is the highest scoring player for the entire slate are pretty high. And so like kind of allow that to dictate things. And maybe you go like the Rams are 4-point favorites. Maybe you want to go a different route and say, hey, I think the Bengals win this game by 7. Put Joe Mixon into your MVP, put Burrow in there, put Evan McPherson in there, and then see how things work from there. So allowing the script of the game to dictate, first of all, MVP, but then also the rest of the player thing is just the easiest way to like make things simple on yourself, but also make the lineup a logical one. Because the game's only going to play out one way. It's not going to play out. It could play out this way or this way. It'll be this way definitively. And you should figure out what that way actually is.
How do you feel about using the kickers in this slate as well? Because that's something that a lot of people who play aren't used to anymore. I remember back in the day, I was old enough to remember when kickers used to be part of the regular lineup over on the FanDuel side, but it's something that we're not really as used to. So is it something that you believe to utilize, especially when you have a kicker who's been so spectacular in these playoffs like McPherson's been?
Yeah, so it depends on the way you see the game playing out. My coworker, Brandon Gadula, has done a lot of research into single game slates over at numberFire. He has found that the lower total the game is, the higher the odds that a kicker is in the optimal lineup. So basically, are they converting are on touchdowns? Because that was going to dictate quarterback scoring. If they're not scoring a lot of touchdowns, the odds that a kicker is in there versus a quarterback go up. I think that the total at 48.5 is probably correct. So that says, kickers are fine. But if I'm taking the mentality of the Bengals win by 7, that means they'll be ahead. They'll be able to be a bit more conservative when they're in the red zone, try to get points to pad that lead. That increases the odds I go McPherson. If I think this game is close, like a 3-point game, then I'm probably going no kickers. But like, let's say I think the Rams win by 20, I'm definitely going to have the Rams kicker in there. So it really depends on the way you think the game will go down. I'm not rostering a kicker on the team I assume will lose. But if I assume a team wins by 7, 10, somewhere in their points, I'm very likely to have the kicker in that lineup.
All right, who's your go-to MVP? You got one lineup. Who are you putting all the 1.5x on?
Yeah, so if it's one lineup, if I'm taking like a single entry mentality, it's Joe Mixon. Under the assumption that Joe Mixon will be under rostered relative to what he should be. His odds of being the optimal MVP for this game. You look back at the Bengals games this year, Joe Mixon was the highest scoring guy 6 times. Jamar Chase also 6 times. Joe Burrow was the highest scoring player 4 times. I'm kind of attacking this in the perspective of most people have either Matthew Stafford or Cooper Kupp as their MVP or Joe Burrow. And so I know I'm going to have a Bengal there. Like, I just know because the Rams will be so chalky there. Mixon, I think, makes a lot of sense in that regard because his role has been so good throughout the playoffs, throughout the high leverage games, if you want to loop in the end of the regular season too. Getting work in the passing game, despite losing some work on third down to Samaje Perine. He has a massive, massive role towards the goal line, 44% red zone share for Mixon in his full games this year. So if I have one lineup and I'm trying to win a tournament, I'm going Joe Mixon. And I think that that's kind of the way I want to play things, just because I think he will be under rostered relative to where he should be at that MVP slot on FanDuel.
All right, Welsh, we'll try to steal you away from a few moments of Latvian bobsled, and I want to ask you about the DK side, if we can. And I know it's very important to you, but I want to ask you about your approach as well, because Jim just threw that all out there, and it's really makes a lot of sense. It's obviously researched. It's making me rethink the lineups where I have Cooper Kupp at the top. I can't seem to get over that fact, though. I do believe the Rams are going to win this football game, and Cooper Kupp has been the dude, and I just feel like everybody knows the ball is going to him, and no one seems to be able to stop it for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know how. I kind of do. It's the route running. It's the
just
cleverness.
About to say, it's route running, man.
It's route running. It's the cleverness.
Why does third and Renfro exist in the NFL?
Right.
At third down, they should be able to stop Hunter Renfro. If you're playing the Raiders, they can't. It's the same idea. It's that route running with Cooper Kupp. I agree.
So on the showdown slate on DK, are you making a case for Cooper Kupp on the other side, especially in the full point PPR system and a different scoring?
So a couple things. I think the one difference, and you guys can correct me on this, because I thought I heard Jim say on the FanDuel side, on your MVP, it's the same cost as the flex. Mm-hmm. That's not the case on the showdown, where on the captain, as they call it, on the showdown, you pay 1.5 times the price. So the price goes up. So to your point here, I have had 5 different people in that slot. The problem I ran into is it ups the roster. The very first person, of course, Cooper Kupp. That's the first person I put in. But then as you're going through the roster construction, it weighted up. Another person I messed with, something that hit a little too home that Jim got, where he's like, I'm not going to have the losing team kicker on, and I'm sitting here as someone who thinks the Rams going to win and had Evan McPherson on my roster here. I even played with him because it really lowers the price. Then I ended up going to Matthew Stafford because I really believe Matthew Stafford is a must for me in this, because I do side the chalkiness of this is a really, really good point, though, Jim. In that FanDuel video you also discussed is this isn't also the place that you have to get too cute. Like, it's going to be chalk. Chalk is chalk, but this is a game where you don't necessarily have to be like, all right, I got to get, Evans in here and I got to get Bland. You're going to play your guys. You're going to play your guys. So I went through all these different constructions. And what I ended up doing is I did find a player that worked, financially and able to get this. That isn't the chalkiest of chalk players. And I ended up throwing in Odell Beckham Jr. because Odell Beckham Jr., 19 targets over the last 2 games. He stepped up in the offense a little bit, with Van Jefferson getting bumped. There's a prop out there, and we're going to talk about props later, that I really like that had it was on DK, and it had Matthew Stafford 290 passing, Rams winning, and Odell catching a touchdown, and it was plus 500. And I'm like, that's built for me. This is exactly where I feel this is going to go. And Odell, to me, didn't feel as a chalk play for a lot of people. Kupp is going to be the guy. It lowered my cost, so I was able to get a few other things to slide in. And in my total roster construction, I still have Kupp and Stafford in. Kupp coming in at 1160. With the multiplier, Beckham came in at 1260. So that multiplier put Kupp, I think, around almost like 1700.
Yeah, it's
so
at 17.
I just found it took me so
17.4
long
to be specific, by the way.
Yeah, it took me so long to roster manipulate on the DK side that I really had to play around, and I don't know how much that's going to ding me, but I don't feel like, exactly like what Jim said, I don't feel like people are going to be jumping to put a guy like Odell Beckham in at that captain spot. It's going to be the Staffords and Kupps, and maybe it'll play, but I've got them in at flex, and I'm banking on, the last 2 game hotness of Odell Beckham Jr. with those 19 targets kind of paying off.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Welsh. I was very in on Odell on both sides too. I just like having him in these lineups. It just feels like a good ROI. Speaking of ROI, you have a big difference between Jamar Chase, like almost a $3,000 difference between Chase and Higgins. So as appealing as Chase can be, and we all know the talent and the game-breaking ability, and certainly he's capable of putting on a show, what do you think about these two, and how do you weigh that? Do you think you just kind of take the safer guy in Higgins and take that floor and the cheaper cost, or do you pay up for Jamar Chase?
And that's what I did. Here's the biggest battle, and I've lost on this a couple times, where you go and you have like a really good corner battle, and you go, all right, well, this guy's going to lock Chase out. And I think I did that one time, and it was like 170 yards for Chase, and T. Higgins was shut out. Obviously, Ramsey's the big key here. And are they going to 100% shadow, or are they not? I think on PFF, the Bengals grade of Chase and Higgins is like the exact same. I think they, again, not giving away their stuff, but Kupp is obviously going to be near the top. Those two are kind of next, but it doesn't look like there's an edge given to either one of them, because I don't know if anyone really knows exactly, is he going to just purely shadow Chase? I'm going under the assumption that shadowing is going to happen. I'm also on the Rams side. So by virtue, I take the cheaper T. Higgins, who Higgins has also been able to do some business, 19 targets, 200 yards over the last 2 playoff games. And I'm going on that side. So I'm playing it a little bit safer, but I am a little bit worried Jim, I feel like that's chalk. I don't know if the Higgins play over Chase is super chalky right now. And is it better to play Jamar Chase as, probably, second best receiver in this game, maybe second best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that the Ramsey discussion is interesting because they've only had him shadow, I think, twice so far this year. But one of the ones where they did so is against Mike Evans in the playoffs. And I think he ran 69% of his routes versus Ramsey in that game. And you look at this situation where for the past 5 games, Jamar Chase has gone over 110 yards. Like, he's been bananas. The other way they could play it, though, is they have Ramsey shadow T. Higgins and then just bracket Jamar Chase. And we've seen the Patriots do that previously. So I think that for me, I'm kind of playing things straight up. When I play things straight up, I think the salaries are very appropriate on those two guys. During the playoffs, Chase has a 26% target share. Higgins is at 22%. Both those guys have a 46% of the deep work. And then Chase is an edge in the red zone. That to me says I prefer Chase relative to salary, but the consolation taking Higgins is actually okay. So to me, if the advantage you get in using Higgins and saving that salary is enough to justify it, I will do that. Other thing I would say here on FanDuel specifically is you can, if you're multi-entering, put a lineup in a Jamar Chase, duplicate that lineup, take him out, put in Higgins, and leave 1,500 on the table or 1,500 extra on the table, play things that way and kind of cover all your bases. Because I think that like their range of outcomes is pretty similar to the point where you can do something like that and kind of just, hope you hit the other four guys and then get that one guy right in the duplicated lineup.
Everyone's always looking for some value. I know on DK got Samaje Perine 2,400, and if he gets 4 targets again and catches 3 of them and has himself a decent game, that's a pretty good return. Is there somebody on the FanDuel side, Jim, for you that you think is a really good, like low value, but maybe some upside play that allows you to kind of open the board a little bit for your lineups?
Yeah, so on FanDuel, the salaries aren't super restrictive, I would say, based on specifically the studs. Like, they're pretty undersalaried. So I think the good thing is you don't need to go too low, and I don't want to go too low because I want to make sure I'm getting a baseline of production. So to me, the 3 guys who stand out are Van Jefferson, pending what his knee looks like in practice this week. I want to see him get in some full practices if possible. He's $7,000. His role's been terrible during the playoffs, but 2 weeks to get that knee healthy. He still has 24% of the deep targets in the playoffs, despite with that knee and the shoulder injuries he's had. That could help there at 7,000. I'm not super enthusiastic, but for the salary compared to Kendall Blanton, I think that does work out pretty well. And if Higbee is banged up or out, that could get a few targets over towards Van Jefferson. Sonny Michel, 75. If you look back to last week, so Cam Akers had that game against the Bucs where he lost 2 fumbles. Even before his injury in the conference championship, he wasn't getting a ton of third down work. If you look at that game, Michel played 14 out of 18 third down snaps. Akers played 3. And he actually had Michel played 2 out of 4 third down snaps in the first quarter. So before Akers got hurt, he was still coming in for third down. And the broadcast said that was because they prefer Michel as a pass blocker over Akers. Also, Michel got a lot of work inside the red zone. So you look at 12 yards and in. So 12 yards from the goal line, according to Next Gen Stats, Michel played 4 out of 6 snaps, whereas Akers played 2. And none of those snaps occurred in the second quarter when Akers was out getting that shoulder checked out. So Michel might get third down work, might get goal line work. He's $7,500. I think that's a good reason to be skeptical of Akers, but also could potentially put you on Michel as a salary saver. And then Tyler Boyd, $8,500, just a low salary for a guy. Operates in the part of the field where you want to attack this Rams defense. And just, he has some volume, gets work near the goal line, not, super jazzed about him, but $8,500, I think that's a good salary for him, given that he'll be on the field for pretty much every snap.
Well, we're going to find out this Sunday how it all shakes out, that's for sure. And speaking of Sunday, don't forget to set your alarms, your calendars, your Apple Watches, your sundials, whatever you got, because Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, on Betting Pros, on our YouTube channel, Super Bowl 56 live stream sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. 1 hour of props, picks, and predictions with the best in the business, Matt Peralt and Scott Bogman, the other half of the ITL podcast, along with the Welsh. Subscribe. Boo that man. Boo him. Subscribe and tune in for your chance to win an autographed T. Higgins jersey and $20,000 thanks to Thrive Fantasy. That's incentive enough right there just to hang out for a little while there with those guys. So you got to subscribe to Betting Pros over on the YouTube channel. And again, that's this Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, only on our Betting Pros YouTube channel. So check that out. Again, that's brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. I like money and I like signed jerseys. I'm going to have to watch that. I'm sure I'm not eligible to win, but what else is new? Let's get to some
awesome if you won to.
Right?
Wouldn't that be amazing? Like,
it's like the great heel
really
thing.
Well.
Right, like there's me. I come in on Monday here on the show, and I'm just throwing the cash around, and I'm wearing the T. Higgins jersey, and people are like, just gone full heel. Joey P's gone full heel. I love it. That's my dream. Let's get to some of the listener questions. Here's one from Truck, one of my favorite folks out there on the Twitter machine. Truck1223. Props questions. He's got a couple of them. Yay or nay on Burrow over 2.5 rushing attempts, Perine over 1.5 receptions, and Mixon over 3.5 receptions. Let's take them one at a time. Jim, I want to start with the Burrow one because the rush attempts is not my favorite one. The rushing yards, I thought last week it was too low. I think this week it's too low. I'm going to the yards because he could pick that up in one rush. It's the attempts to me, that one I kind of stay away from. What do you think of the Burrow 2.5 rushing attempts? You over or under or stay away?
I think it's appropriate. And I guess, that's kind of vague, but I think that to me, I think that of the ones listed, that's the one I'm most curious about the over on. Last week he ran 4 times. Sorry, I keep saying last week. 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs, he ran 5 times, and I think that was probably intentional, just because like it's a higher leverage game. It's a situation where they know the pass rush is going to be there, which it probably will be once again. And you always see this with quarterbacks. This is probably why you're on the rushing prop. They're more willing to run during these high leverage games.
Sure.
So 5 rush attempts there. He had 5 rush attempts versus the Chiefs the first time they faced him, 2, 5 against Denver. He's had 2 in some of those spots as well. But I think 2.5, I'm actually inclined to take the over there. I don't like a ton of overs for the Super Bowl slate in terms of prop bets. I think that one I would go over, though, just because of the way quarterbacks are more aggressive in these types of games, and probably going to be forced to scramble more than he would like on Sunday.
Yeah, with Aaron Donald and Von Miller, I would agree 100%. He's probably going to be flushed out of the pocket. Welsh, I want to get your take on the P. Ryan and Mixon numbers here. P. Ryan over 1.5 receptions, and the Mixon over under 3.5 receptions. So how do you see this shaking out? Do you like one or the other, or both?
I mean, I definitely, if I'm going to make a side with it, I'm going to make a side with it on Joe Mixon. Ended out the last 2 weeks with 13 catches. And what is the prop at?
3.5 receptions, yeah, for Mixon.
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to, like, I would say with my approach with the Bengals and Joe Burrow and the rush attempts. If I look at a team and I see a good pass rush and I believe the team is going to be playing from behind, I think the likelihood of a quarterback scrambling around a little bit more and having rush attempts is higher. And Joe Burrow finished not to like jump over that one, but he finished the year with 5 attempts. He's had it in the playoffs, and I think that's likely. So I would come back to the same thing. If I believe this team is going to be playing from behind, first off, do I think that they're going to bring in a backup running back? No. So I'm not interested in the Samaje P. Ryan. It could hit, but I think the likelihood is much less. Do I believe that they're going to be playing from behind? Yes, I do. So does the likelihood move up more that they're going to have to get Joe Mixon involved in the game in some capacity, and that would be through the passing game? Yes, I do. And against Baltimore and Kansas City, those were those 2 games where he had 14 targets, 13 catches, over it was 110 yards and a touchdown. Like he has been involved in the pass game quite a bit more. And, you know, if we go back to what we were talking about with the wide receiver setup, if you had Ramsey shadowing Higgins and they're just, you know, chipping out on Jamar Chase, if you have like coverage, you know, sacks, so to speak, on that, you're going to be looking at Joe Burrow checking down even more. So I love this one. I love the Joe Mixon one. I'm not like crazy. It's not on my list, but of these 3 that you're talking about, I actually would go Joe Mixon, Burrow, and then I'm not interested in the P. Ryan one. I don't see the rate of return being that great, just because what was it? 1 catch, 1.5? What was it set at?
1.5 is the number.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Let's continue on with a couple of the other questions here. I opened things up there because not just the Super Bowl. It's nice to talk about something else besides that a little bit. Little break in the Super Bowl action, a little palate cleanser, a sorbet, if you will. By the way, Jim, you have a favorite flavor of sorbet? You like a citrus, a lemon guy? You like the chocolate? Which way do you go?
Orange? Is that weird?
Yeah, no,
is that a weird answer? It feels weird. No. Okay,
I'm like a lime or lemon. Like I'm a citrus.
Citrus guy.
Citrus all the way for sure.
All right, I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. These are important questions that need answering. We have one from at Miles Loriano wants to know, how are you feeling about Michael Thomas for keepers? Is holding on to him the best route to go, or is his trade value basically now and maybe is worthless potentially if I hold on too long? That's the question there from Miles Loriano. So, Welsh, we'll start with you with this one. What do you make of Michael Thomas? Is this the time to be trading for him or trading away Michael Thomas?
I have a pretty generic answer to this. I would say in any respect of any dynasty sport that high valued names trading at their lowest point is the last thing on the planet I'm willing to do. There's no upside to it if he's at his absolute lowest. Now, Michael Thomas is interesting because I think there's a lot of optimism in that, like, you know, hey, the Saints look like they're just garbage and they might trade off and he doesn't really seem to want to be there and there could be a new team and he's still young enough and his last performance, you know, all of that kind of coincides with maybe there's some optimism and someone would really want to move something. I doubt it. The way this question is being asked is, you know, do you want to sell on the low? No. Would I buy? Absolutely. That's the name of the game in Dynasty for me. Let me buy low on high production, high return opportunities wherever I can, and let me not sell at my lowest point. But also one of the keys to those type of deals and those type of ideas is you need to be directly locked into how you feel about Michael Thomas, because if you don't know and you're worried, you probably should just get out, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell off. He'll be good and you're going to be mad, or you won't. He'll get good. And then now you're going to talk yourself into he's great. If you don't really believe in it, I would do this. I would hold, wait till he gets traded. Guess when the best time is going to probably be to trade him is right when he gets on a new team or whatever it is, optimism, and then move off if you're not sold on him, because you're going to get a much better value. You may lose because he may come back and be an absolute superstar, but that's a better time to do it. Wait till the news is hot with him and then make the move off and prepare to win or lose the trade. Don't do it now. I would buy in on him. Wide receivers, rate of return as far as like age goes is better than running backs. There's still plenty of opportunity. Go put him with a good quarterback, and magical things can happen. So I would be a buy.
These guys are pretty close right now in the early expert consensus rankings over at FantasyPros, and you can check that out at fantasypros.com/ranks. You've got Michael Thomas right now at 15. Would you rather have him or Elijah Moore in a dynasty league right now?
Ooh, Jim.
I already have Elijah Moore everywhere. So.
Would you rather have Elijah
over Michael Thomas, though?
I don't know. I think that like the way I'd view this is if let's say you have Elijah Moore, you have Michael Thomas right now, and it sounds like the person asking the question is kind of antsy to get rid of him. I would say hold for now, because I don't think it's going to get any worse in terms of his trade value, because right now, baseline assumption is starting quarterback next year is Taysom Hill and Sean Payton is gone. That's going to be bad. The only way that could change is if the situation gets better. I'm not sure it's going to get better, but it's probably not going to get worse. So we get Michael Thomas back on the field at training camp. Seems like he had a lot of beef with Sean Payton, just based on the vibes there. So maybe that'll improve things. You'll actually be more willing to be out there at this point. So we're going to get him back on the field at training camp in July. Once people see him back on the field, that cost will start to go up. That's when you would move him versus now. I know that is a bummer, because like ideally if you're moving him for picks, you'd want those picks. You want to do it
earlier so you have it,
correct,
right? So you can have control over who those picks are. Yeah,
exactly. You would want that because you don't want those dead assets sitting on your bench for the entire, if it's future draft capital, et cetera, et cetera. So I know that's kind of a bummer, but if you're trying to get the best return on investment, I do think that's the way to play things. So I would hold off personally. I might actually take Elijah Moore. I don't know. That's probably potentially kind of stupid, but like, it's more so because I'm very into Elijah Moore and not because I think that you can get nothing in return for Michael Thomas.
Well, that's what I tried to give you. I tried to tempt you with a name. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown was actually further down, which I was even surprised about. But like in the dynasty ranks, I would probably have to go there instead of the redraft and peel those apart a little bit. But it feels like, that's the kind of guy you'd have to take, that second-year wide receiver that showed you a little bit for the potential of this stud. I mean, Michael Thomas 2 years ago was a potential 1-1 overall pick. And I think people forget that. But again, that's in that offense with Drew Brees. He's got to go somewhere else where he lands in a good offense. And speaking of maybe a copy and paste conversation, here's one from our friend Derek Delgado. He wants to know, can you guys talk about Calvin Ridley? Rumors you've heard, trade landing spots. Is he ready to come back? How good would he look in a Patriots uniform? LOL, Derek Delgado. He would look great. I would take him or Michael Thomas. I actually think Michael Thomas fits the Patriots offense very well, but I would take Calvin Ridley for sure. But Jim, this is a different set of circumstances. This is a guy that was having some issues there, mental health issues. I think with Thomas, it was a little bit more professional issues that he was having. So with Calvin Ridley, this is kind of another layer to peel back from the onion. So what do you do in those keeper dynasty situations with this asset? Do you just kind of wait it out now? Or do you sell it off for parts and picks and just not even deal with the headache come August and September?
I definitely wouldn't sell because I think that like we're reading these reports on Calvin Ridley. I wish I knew the origin of these reports, because if I knew that the Calvin Ridley may be traded buzz is coming from Calvin Ridley's camp, I would feel better about the odds that he plays this year. I don't think that's a guarantee that he plays in 2022. If he has to, get himself right, he might not play. If I knew that those reports were originating from Calvin Ridley's, nucleus, his camp, I would feel a lot better about being aggressive going to get him. I don't know that right now. It's a possibility, but I don't know that. So I think that what I'd be doing right now is holding, and just I would not trade him because unless you get an outrageous offer, because I know the odds I regret that are very high, and I don't want to have that hanging over me. So I think if you get a great return, cool, do what you got to do. But I doubt you're going to get that great return right now. So for me personally, he is a pretty firm hold where I'm definitely not going to trade him away. I'm not selling low in the situation. I'm also not necessarily looking to buy though either, just because I don't think it's a lot that he comes back for this year specifically.
Welsh, if I could tempt you, if you had Calvin Ridley, and he's pretty good, wide receiver class. You got Burks in there. You've got Jameson Williams in there. Maybe I give you the 105 pick for Calvin Ridley. Is that enough to move Calvin Ridley for you?
Oh man, that's
rookie draft. Just gotta start over at wide receiver.
Yeah, it might be. I would probably try to push you off, and I'd be like, let me think about it a little bit, and because if Ridley comes back. As far as youth, this is a different discussion of Mike Thomas versus him. There's a lot more years in there. We're also stepping into prime. My problem is it smells very Josh Gordon-ish, and obviously not the same issues. These aren't the same issues, but you know how we just were like, what if with Josh Gordon? We kept talking ourselves into it. And again, it's a different situation.
There could be a whole series of what if for Josh Gordon.
Yeah. And we're kind of in that, if whatever he's dealing with was enough to walk away from the game at his age, that's a deeper issue. How often do we see that just come back and hey, everybody, let's go. Let's play football. He walked away from the game, in the middle. So I think that's a big question mark. If I were risk adverse, give me that pick. Give me that pick. I know I'm going to get, especially based off of historical, running backs will probably go near the top. I'll probably be able to get one of the top wide receivers. And if you get in a really good spot, a wide receiver in a good spot, then bam, you're golden. That could have been a Jalen Waddle spot, in years past. So yeah, sure. I would do that. From an upside perspective, if he does come back and play, if these rumors, if there was just a Falcons issue and a little mental health and he didn't want to play and he's really going to be able to move off and the Patriots rumors that were out there are true and he is back in golden, then I feel really great about it. But I'll always have that kind of Josh Gordon-ness, we're just clawing and praying, hey, this could work. We talk ourselves into it. I do that all the time.
It's a good point.
I'm not risk adverse.
Well, you talk yourself into it because you love the talent. Answer quick with one name. Who would you rather have in a dynasty league right now? Michael Thomas or Ridley? Go.
You know what? Ridley. Is that
Jim? How about you?
Ridley.
Okay. Actually going to go with Thomas. I'll take the bad boy with his contract issues as opposed to the guy who's got the mental health issues right now. Just because that fear of him walking away from the game completely looms, at least maybe Michael Thomas, I get a little more. So good conversation. Great questions. I love our listeners. They're the best. All right, let's switch gears into the prop market. And as a reminder, everybody, if you're looking for all of the props laid out there, again, we've simplified everything for you. Our prop bet cheat sheet is available at bettingpros.com. So you can go ahead to bettingpros.com/props, and it ranks all the top prop bets based on our projection. So it's literally a cheat sheet. We're saying, here's the answers, here's the projections, here's the best place to bet against the projection here for over or under, and go make some money. And again, that use cheat sheet, that phrase gets overdone sometimes, but literally this is the cheat sheet. Go have some fun. We're giving you all the answers to the test. Now go make some money with it. It's over at bettingpros.com/props is where you can find that. Bogman and I just used it when we did the prop show on BP earlier this week, so you could check out that whole thing. We went through the entire list basically, but I want to talk to the boys about their favorite prop bets. So Jim, let's start with you. Give me 2 or 3 of your favorite prop bets for the Super Bowl that you are really confident in because of where you think this game's going to go.
You're not allowed to take mine. You can't take mine.
I'll try. And I want you to take all of Welsh's.
He's going to take. I know. I can already guarantee at least one is going to go. But go ahead.
Well, that means you're smart, Welsh. Which is it's few and far between.
We're both going down together. Who could say? It does tie back in though to a discussion we had before about Cam Akers and the fact that he was leaving the game on third downs even before he got hurt back in the conference championship. So I think there are multiple routes to exploiting that role. The one that I like most is his rushing plus receiving prop. It's at 83.5 at FanDuel Sportsbook. The under is -114. I like the under on that because I prefer those markets in general, the rushing plus receiving, because it gives you multiple routes going over. Here, I'm getting extra cushion from his rushing yardage prop because I could see a situation where the Rams look at the Bengals game plan versus the Chiefs, see they were dropping 8 into coverage and say, okay, we can run the ball here. I could see them being a bit more run heavy than I'd like, which would worry me about Akers' rushing yardage prop. But if I go with this one instead of 83.5, I'm getting more leeway, more wiggle room there in case they do decide to be run heavy. So I'm taking advantage of the fact that I don't think he'll be out there on third down as much. I'm getting pretty high number, honestly, at 83.5, and taking the under there. I think that's my favorite prop right now. You could also go, his receiving prop is 2.5. The under is -174. So you're paying a lot of juice. I think that's pretty worth it, though, personally, just because, again, the way he was used prior to his injury in that conference championship game, I think that -174 is very fair at 2.5. So Akers under 2.5 receptions, under 83.5 rushing plus receiving yards. Those are currently my favorites. Other rushing plus receiving yardage prop is Mixon's. It's at 90.5. That has been coming down pretty steadily all week. So I'm not taking that one now. I'm watching it and seeing if that can get down to 88.5, I'll take an over. It's not, it might not get there. I want to be very clear on that. It may not get there. I don't want to go there, but for the full season, Mixon's at 98.6 yards in scrimmage per game in his full games this year. He's been over 102 of the 3 playoff games, which is a more important sample. He's been getting more passing game work. So if it gets to 88.5, I will fire on that one. Not there yet, but with the way the market has been trending, I wouldn't be totally shocked if it were to get down there. The one over I like in this game right now is Joe Burrow. His pass attempt prop is 36.5. That's at -106 on the over. They have been, I know that Chiefs game, they were stupid in like how run heavy they were. Tony Romo's like stressing in the booth about how much they're running. That's true. They were pretty run heavy in that game. But over the past 5 games Burrow has played in the whole, their early down first half pass rate is 66%. Their full season mark was 59%. They've been over 70% in 3 of the past 5 games with Joe Burrow. I would not be shocked if they're pretty pass heavy here. So 36.5 to me is a pretty good number to take the over. He's gone over that in 4 of the past 5 games that he's played. It's also a situation where if they do fall behind, he would get to that over for sure. So I think the Burrow 36.5 pass attempts prop is a good one if you want to go with an over. Unders are very stressful. But like just with the way the board sets up for this week, I feel like I have to take a lot of unders. If you don't want that stress, A, I don't blame you. B, I think if you want to go an over, Burrow, the pass attempt one would be the route I would go.
Well, don't worry, Jim, because if you're wrong on anything, the YouTube comments will remind you.
I'm sure that they will.
Everyone will be super forgiving as the end.
Welsh, how about you? What are your favorite props that are on the board as you head into the Super Bowl Sunday?
All right, I got one that I think is just like the lock of locks that everybody should be considering, and obviously, then we're going to come back and he'll have 50 total yards. But the number one is the easiest one: the Cooper Kupp over receiving yards. Everybody should be taking a look at it. It's at 106.5 since week 6. If you just look at the regular season, since week 6, Cooper Kupp would have not hit that only 3 times. Only 3 times since week 6 would he have not hit the number that he's got in the biggest game and on the biggest stage, and he is the biggest force. It's crazy with what he's done as far as receiver. I just think that's the biggest, chalkiest one. 106.5. It's on DraftKings at -115. You can make a solid, just like lock-in bet on one of those. That's my easiest one. Now, if I start to go down the rabbit hole a little bit, I like this one. Evan McPherson to make a 50-plus yard field goal. He has made and attempted the most 50-yarders this year in the regular season in the NFL. He made 9. He attempted 11. He made more 50-yard field goals than every single kicker, but I believe 3. So he made more 50-yarders than they even attempted, That's what I meant to say. So it's a little bit cheekier to go with, but it pays plus 140 if you go with just a 50-plus yard field goal for Evan McPherson. Now, the third one, and I've got like one other little like sneaky one I'll throw in. It's going to be a combo, little parlay. It's actually kind of like a tailing of what Jim was saying. I think Jim's actually might be safer a little bit, but I found this, and again, apologies, just all the different books, and you got FanDuel behind you, and I'm talking about a DraftKings one. But I saw this on DraftKings, and you can play total completions from quarterbacks, and it's at 50.5 for both quarterbacks. Now, the problem you have is, let's like in theory say we need both of them to hit 25. We technically need one to hit 26 on the completions front. Stafford has only hit 25 once in the last 5 games, but Burrow, 3 of the last 5 he's hit that. But even better, Burrow has had over 30 completions in the last 2 straight games of the playoffs. And if you're playing from behind, he could carry this alone. So the attempt marker, I think, is fantastic. And I think, what was it, 36?
36.5, yep.
He's hit over 30 completions in 2 straight games. And he could, in theory, carry this. So if we get the 30 from Burrow, we just need 21 from Stafford. and he has only not had 21 completions twice the entire regular season. So you got to talk yourself into it a little bit. And by the way, those 2 times he didn't hit at least 21 completions, weeks 1 and 2. So since week 3 on, he has had 21 or more completions. So kind of like that one. It pays minus 115. So, you're not getting like all the fun juice that you're getting from the field goal kicker one. But I really like that, especially in a Super Bowl. With a team playing from behind, I think the Rams are going to offensively, the way they're going to do it is through the air. And then if the Bengals are from behind, they're going to be throwing. Joe Burrow loves it. I like the completions one. And the only other one I would throw out, I would parlay these because they're way too juiced, but I really like them. Matthew Stafford passing touchdowns over 1.5. It's minus 230. So, you don't really want to play that alone. One that I might parlay with it, and it has nothing to do with that one, is the most sacks. You get to pick one of the 2 teams, and the Rams are minus 225. So I would take the most sacks by either team, take the Rams side. We saw what happened to Burrow. Burrow has been getting, nuts on the offensive line side. And I believe Burrow has been, at least in the last 3 regular season games, he was sacked 12 total times between those 3 games. And then he had the 9 sack game. So I can literally choose the Rams to have the most sacks in this game. And I can go Matthew Stafford over passing 1.5 touchdowns. It'll probably get you between I didn't put it in. I should have put it in the book, but like minus 120, 100 or something like that. And I would double a unit play on a chalky play like that. So again, Cooper Kupp over receiving yards, Evan McPherson to make a 50-plus yard field goal. Total quarterback completions between both of them, 50.5. And I would parlay Stafford passing touchdowns over 1.5 with the most sacks going to the LA Rams.
I love the McPherson one. I'm so conditioned never to make investments in kickers, but I didn't even really look into the kicker ones very hard. I'll be honest with you, because it's just something I never want to do. I just have
most
zero
50-yard field goals is by McPherson too. But I mean,
you sold go back me on that one, man.
But the interesting point I would say, if you really want to like be careful about your betting, is something Jim said earlier, where it's like, do you want to side on the side of the kicker for the losing team? And I tend to be more of a Rams guy, but I don't think this game gets out of hand in the first half. This could be one of those. This is why I love these type of bets. You could smack that maybe at the end of the half. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe the Bengals get the ball. They're coming in. He kicks a 53-yarder. Bam, you got plus 140 on just
that could be right kick. Before the half. Bengals get a drive there at the end. Yeah. I love it. And he's been money for a reason. I mean, the guy's just been off the charts.
Other interesting thing with him is that he did all that while playing only 2 games indoors the entire year, and they did their third on Sunday. They had 2. I think it was against Detroit and Vegas. Those are the only 2 games they played indoors the entire season. He still had all those 50-yarders.
Crazy.
Yeah, and that's a great. I didn't even mention we're indoors. From like a weather perspective. Mwah.
All right, for me, I'm with Welsh, so he actually stole mine. He was worried about Jim stealing his. Cooper Kupp on the over. I'm going to do it at FanDuel, though, not just because Jim's here, but because it's 105.5, so even lower. Give me that better, one extra yard. Juice. So there you go. And you know where I found that out? The prop bet cheat sheet over at Betting Pros, because you could go and it literally tells you where to bet which one. The Joe Burrow rushing yards, I already told you. Look, this is my favorite prop bet 2 weeks ago. I was harping on it with Bogman. I said, this is such a gimme. Just you could put $1,000 on this and you're going to win money.
What's the number?
And you did. 10.5. That's the best one you could find. 10.5. That's one rush. I feel like for him it's going to be. And the other one for me is the T. Higgins receptions 5.5. I actually think T. Higgins gets a lot of work in this game. I really do. I think he's going to need to if they're going to stay competitive there in this one. So those are the 3 that I really like. Let's talk about the silly ones. I would love a prop bet. We were talking before the show about, is there a prop bet for Joe Burrow smoking a cigar later? That would obviously be the same as whatever the money line on the Cincinnati Bengals is, but is there something silly that you bet, the coin toss Jim, or something that's just wacky and weird that you think, yeah, this is fun, or just by tradition you like to do?
Yeah, I don't bet these, to be fully clear. In the interest of full transparency, I will not bet these.
Okay, what's the most entertaining one on the board?
If I'm looking for some, I did look at, just for funsies. If I'm looking for one, just out of boredom. The national anthem total is at 1 minute 55 seconds. I think the over there feels pretty good.
Who's singing it this year?
Mickey Guyton. There was a YouTube video of her singing the national anthem, and she went 1 minute 58. So got 3 seconds of cushion there. I could feel pretty good about that one. So I think that the over on the national anthem, 1 minute 55, would be interesting. Other one
Do you start? Here's my question with that one. This is really important if we're talking about this. I can't believe we're talking about this, but we are. Does the timer start when she starts singing or when the music begins?
This is why you got to read the house rules. Very important. Got to read the house rules. I'm sure that they have it noted somewhere.
Right.
It's got to be when she starts. It's got to be when like she.
But it's not when the anthem begins. The anthem begins in that little da 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 da. Oh, say like that's the whole thing. So I want to know what I'm getting in on here.
You should have the full thing, Joe, so we could time it out and get a good idea of what the
let's do yours.
Oh, say.
There we go.
Oh no.
Here, get my phone. I'll start timing.
Yep.
All right, got any other fun ones there, Jim? What else you got?
Yeah, so like again, I'm not betting this. Just full transparency. But the first halftime song, California Love is plus 250. And like if you're thinking about the way this halftime show,
I would think that would be a minus on that.
Wait. Say it again. I can bet on California Love.
Yeah.
What? How is that not like
win?
It is the favorite. It is the favorite. No, the first song.
But
it is also, I would say, it is
Wow.
also the favorite to be the last song played, and I could also see that being the case. I think they lead with it. So I would say first song plus 250, California Love. I think that's the way I would go. Again, I'm not betting it, but I think that if I'm
not going to be gin and juice, that's not going to be the first
going
one
back to Cali could definitely be a possibility. You can't discount going back. So, but California Love.
I think, like, if you're just thinking about the way it breaks down, I feel like, that one's kind of tough. That's tough not to go with. So,
yeah. All right, Welsh, how about you? You got any fun prop bets
those
things?
are so.
I know,
so much
right?
more fun. I want that.
That he's quote not betting on, and all of us now want to. Like I'm running to find these now.
You know what? Give me a link. I'm betting on the California. That is up my alley, 100%. Like nothing big or anything. All right. I mean, I think the two that you got to at least talk about. That if you're going to really play the like funsy market is coin toss. And I like the Rams. I would go with the Rams here. Minus 105. I believe both of them are 105. You know what? I think when I looked on DK, it actually might have been like 105 Rams, like 110 Bengals for whatever reason. I would go Rams side. I've got a fun one, but I got to ask you guys, I'm torn on Gatorade. Gatorade is it screws me up because I've seen so many people consistently say, if you make a bet, you go on orange. Guys, I've never met a human being drinking orange Gatorade. I've never met one human being with an orange Gatorade. Yeah, that's fine. You like it. I've never met somebody. Aliens might be out there. Never met it. I've never seen a person with an orange Gatorade. I live in a world where yellow Gatorade rules. I'm an adult, so I don't drink red Gatorade.
What's the yellow Gatorade? What's the yellow?
Best? It's lemon lime. It's the goat.
Oh,
and
is that really that's like a green fluorescent kind of?
No. That's the yellow is like lemon lime, and then you have like the light blue, the dark blue. Red is for children. I've never met a person, but orange is technically the number one Gatorade on DK. The number one bet is clear or water. And then at plus 300 is orange. And I don't understand orange. I read articles about they saw Robert Woods in his rehabbing drinking yellow Gatorade, and then he had a bottle of orange, and then Joe Burrow so it's like there's like all this calculated stuff about it. At the end of the day, I think I just got to go yellow because you also on DK you get yellow and green. I didn't even know green exists, but you get two colors together and it pays plus 350. So I think I would just go with my favorite Gatorade. Do you guys have a Gatorade color side?
So we do like a prop betting game, like when we host Super Bowl parties, and I've gotten the Gatorade color wrong every year, I think. So
what was it last year that you said? So that way we know to go with it this year.
Yeah, no, I think that I like your thoughts, and so I just jinxed your bet, and I'm sorry.
Now we gotta go orange. We do need to go orange.
No, I think that the logic behind not going orange is sound, but I would say that lime has been cursed because I think that's a good bet. So, I think it's been cursed now. It's just a given.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, is there like purple? I've seen purple before. I've seen some.
Well, there's the blue purple. Gatorade. I mean, they're the Rams. I would have thought it would be blue, right? I mean,
it's a yellow. See, here's the thing. Here was my logic about yellow, by the way. Rams, yellow.
This is quite the manifesto you've got.
Rams, yellow. Burrow, LSU,
orange.
Yellow, both. Orange Bengals, but LSU maybe. Jamar Chase, get out the yellow. Hey, boom, cigar. That's my logic. There's yellow.
I think you leave college behind. I think they're Bengals now. I think when they're getting the paychecks, although who's to say they weren't getting paid in college?
I think I would rather bet California Love at this point than Gatorade.
That's the best board of all the bets regarding the Super Bowl. I don't know how that's not minus money. Like that to me is
let's
shocking.
do it right now. Let's all pick a color. I'm taking yellow. I'm taking yellow. Jim, what is your color? You can't take yellow.
My college college was purple, so I'm going purple.
Okay,
Joe,
I'm going to go with the blue. I think the Rams win. I think it's the blue Gatorade.
So we're leaving water and clear on the table for the audience.
Yeah, I mean clear. How do you know if it's clear if it's water or Gatorade? I mean,
give
it's
it to
clear.
Bogman. We'll give it to Bogman.
Yeah, Bogman gets those. That's fine.
Last one. I have one more.
You got more. Okay.
No, just one. It's kind of fun, but first coach's challenge. And I'm going to go with the Rams because McVay loves to challenge, loves to do some of the silly challenges. It's minus 120. So I'm going to go with first coach's challenge with the Rams.
That. I like that. All right, let's do our predictions. Let's go ahead. I've got the Rams 24-20. I think it's a lackluster first quarter, and everybody comes out a little flat because you have 2 weeks off. It's a Super Bowl. That's usually what happens. Everyone's just kind of feeling each other out a little bit, and then the second half things start to look more like a game. That's where I've got, but I think the 4.5 I like. I think we're going to get into that mix there, but on the Bengals side, and I do think the Rams eventually, I think that pass rush, you win games on the line, and I just really am concerned about that. When you take them out of situations where you take them out of field goal range, or you take them out of a big third down situation and you have that big sack, that really changes momentum for any great quarterback, even the Tom Brady's. We've seen that many, many times. So that's the one thing that scares the heck out of me. Jim, what's your prediction for the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, my numbers have this as the Rams by 4.2 points. I cannot get 4.2 because that doesn't work. So I'll go with the Rams 27-24 to win this game. So honestly, it's so boring to say, hey, the spread and total are appropriate, but I'm going to say the spread and total are pretty appropriate. I think Rams 27-24.
There's a reason why they build those hotels in Vegas.
That's right.
They're pretty good at setting those numbers there. How about you, Welsh? What are your predictions for the game this weekend?
And by the way, I don't know if it's changed at all, but I saw just yesterday it was 4.5 on DK, but 4 on FanDuel for the Rams. So that hook could definitely play a role. I don't know if it's changed at all. I'm kind of in the similar range as you guys. And interesting, Joe, your take. Something people might want to consider in a bet I might really like is the under first half, which I'm not looking at it, but if it's 48.5, I'm going to guess it's probably like 23.5 or 24.5, probably 24.5 is probably
Jim
the
knows
first
off the
half
top of his
under.
head, right, Jim?
The first quarter total is 10 with plus 138 on the over. Let me check that. Yeah, plus 138 on the over 10. I think that one's actually pretty fun under the assumption that the Bengals come out kind of pass heavy as I thought they might. So didn't talk about that one before, but that is actually one.
That's an interesting one. But if you think the game is going to slow down, you could play that first half under. And Joe, you like the under. I'm a little bit. I think I'm a little bit different on you guys. I got the game 30-24 in favor of LA. I don't know if I particularly still love the hook with the 4.5, but I do have the score. I really think this could be kind of one of those last, 3-minute changers where we're within 6. Bengals got a shot. They're driving last. There's no field goal opportunity. They got to score. And I feel actually more confident about the over than I do personally the spread. 48.5, decent number. In theory, these guys could come out a little bit stagnant in the first half, but both of these offenses are absolutely explosive, and we've seen them put up points before. That I would actually go on the side of the over, and I do technically have the Rams. I would love to take the 4 rather than the 4.5, but 30-24 LA for me.
So get the 4 at FanDuel.
FanDuel's where I make the bet. Absolutely.
FanDuel, well, Jim Sanis works and the 4 lives. Super Bowl MVP, Welsh, who is it?
I'm going to go Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, Jim Sanis, Super Bowl MVP.
Plus 600, by the way, Cooper Kupp.
I'll go Stafford. I just think it's so tough to unseat a quarterback. If I'm going chalk, I think that, again, it's boring, but it's probably boring for a reason.
Yeah, I'm going to go Stafford too. The narrative of the guy toiling for years in Detroit and then finally getting his opportunity in this Hollywood moment, even if Cooper Kupp has 150 yards.
You think if Kupp has 2 touchdowns, Stafford can win it? Unless let's say Stafford
I think Stafford wins it no matter what.
Let's say 350 passing, 350 passing, 3 touchdowns for Stafford, but Cooper Kupp has $150 and 2 scores. Who's the MVP?
I think it's Stafford. I really do. I think it goes to the quarterback, and I don't think it's right necessarily, but I'm just saying it feels like that's the narrative here in the league. I feel like Cooper Kupp would want it to go to Stafford too, if that makes sense. I think he's the kind of guy who'd be like, yeah, I mean, this is my guy, my quarterback, and the two of them can go to breakfast the next morning like they always do and enjoy life together. So I think we've covered it all, boys. This was fantastic. Again, you can follow the boys over on Twitter. You can follow Welsh at isitthewelsh. And of course, check out the ITL Army in this league over on Patreon. And of course, Jim Sannes at Jim Sannes, SANNES, senior writer and analyst for numberFire, works over on the FanDuel side of things. And just to recap, everybody, we've got everything you could possibly imagine for your Super Bowl fun. So we got the squares at bettingpros.com/squares. We've got the offers that are all available, one page, bettingpros.com/offers, all these different options for you to make small or even medium-sized investments in and have some fun and wagering on the game. If you don't want to do the squares, or if you want to do the squares also. We've also got our live stream that's going on as well, sponsored by Thrive Fantasy, Sunday over on our YouTube channel at Betting Pros. Not this one, Betting Pros. So make sure you subscribe to Betting Pros over there on the YouTube side of things. Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Again, that's 8 Pacific time. And it's sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. We're giving away 20 grand they are, and a T. Higgins autographed jersey that I've been told, yes, I cannot win. So there you have it. And also, all of these prop bets we're talking about, go check out the prop bet cheat sheet that's available at bettingpros.com/props. Again, that's bettingpros.com/props. So many ways to have fun. Go out there, enjoy the game, put a little juice on it, as we like to say, and hopefully you come away with the plus side money. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For the Welsh and Jim Sannes, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Fantasy Pros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.